Moun, jodi an nou kan chen a diskusyon sou emancipasyon set misi pou l'année 2022. Good? Thank you.
Good morning, and we're here at the Emancipation 2022 conference where we will have a candid discussion with the Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire, Minister of Tourism, Investment, Creative Industry, Culture and Information, and the Executive Director of the Folk Research Center, RISA, and we will talk about emancipation, all the questions that are going through persons' minds at this time. And I just want to say that this is really a first of its kind, and we're hoping that persons tag onto it, participate, and join this movement of Emancipation 2020. So let's start off. Good morning, Minister.
Hi, good morning, Gina, and a pleasant good day to all your listeners and followers, and certainly very excited about discussing the Emancipation celebrations today. So I'm looking forward together with Riser to have quite an exciting discussion.
Okay. And Riser?
Bienvenue tout le monde, bienvenue cette ici et puis mon l'étoile qui avait nous aujourd'hui nous avons une discussion sur l'émancipation si j'ai qui bien important pour le développement nous comme pays.
Now, who said me much you know?
Raisa Joseph.
Raisa Joseph.
Yes.
Well, you see my Creole is getting a little better.
That's good.
Okay. So, Minister, the big question in everyone's mind is why? Why celebrate emancipation on this grand scale?
Yeah. Well, I think we need to recognize, one, what does emancipation mean? And for us to appreciate its significance. And once we appreciate its significance, we can then reflect on why we need to have a celebration. In our history, we've had a number of seminal moments that have really transformed the quality of our civilization. So you might want to go back very early, the arrival of the Europeans to this part of the world, and how it transformed our civilization, which was an ancient civilization in some ways. We had slavery, which really changed the nature of the societies that existed then. The indigenous people, you brought in forced labor, and the nature of the labor, they've had slavery many times before in history, but it's the first time slavery was actually used as an economic tool the way it was done. And then when slavery ended, which meant now the societies literally became free societies from the point of view of the end of bondage. And of course, you can add independence in 1979 as another transformational moment. So then we have, in 1834, basically, the end of the bondage of our people who were brought over from Africa in forced circumstances to work on plantations to fuel the economic expansion of Europe. And for almost 200 years, they were slaves, forced to work against their will. They were dehumanized and used as economic tools. And when that ended, it really created a new society for us, a society which gave us the distinct personality and history that we have now. Over the years, we have not really paid attention and really commemorated and celebrated the fact that we were emancipated from bondage, and who we are today largely comes from that decisive moment. When the government changed last year in July, the Prime Minister made it very clear that this was the last Emancipation Day, 1st of August last year, that we would be celebrating in such an insignificant manner, such a low-key manner. And he gave very clear directions to me as the minister that as of 2022, he wanted emancipation to be elevated in our consciousness, in our understanding, and in our celebration. And of course, what I then did was to ask yourself, CDF, to bring together all the strategic partners and let us start a process of commemorating and celebrating emancipation in a more meaningful way. And I must say the team that you brought together, that CDF brought together, put together an exciting 3-year program that would charter our celebrations over the next 3 years. This year is the first year. It has its challenges. We're still within a COVID pandemic. We have limitations in terms of what we can do. We have limitations in terms of financial resources. But I think the team put together a really exciting program, and I'm looking forward to the program officially starting on Sunday afternoon and over the month of August. And I really must say thank you to the team, CDF, FRC, the Rastafarian community, Archaeological and Historical Society, and everyone that came together. And I want to say to people, this is our first year. We won't get everything right. We won't do everything perfect. We won't totally make everyone happy. But we're starting this year, and I promise you over the next few years it will get bigger and better and more meaningful, and certainly rekindle or enkindle our consciousness.
Speaking of the theme, enkindling our consciousness, Raisa, in terms of your understanding of it, what do you embody this theme as? Some people say it's a sort of revival, awakening. What do you perceive it to be?
Ok. Bonjour encore tout le monde. Je vais commencer en créole et après ça, je vais dire en anglais.
Merci.
Oui. Incliner our consciousness, ça veut dire lever kachil nous, c'est l'occasion pour nous continuer le mouvement émancipation. Plus émancipation par activité. Même si nous avons regardé l'indépendance et le développement de notre pays, l'émancipation a aidé nous pour voir comment nous avons continué à développer. Comment nous avons continué à péter chaîne nous tenir sur nous, pas seulement sur la main avec pied nous, mais à sur kachil nous, qui manière nous regarder belle terre cette ici, de là où kaitan moun ka dit qui moun qui ka gérer pays, un moun qui n'est particulier couler la pour yo. Qui manière ou ka garder issue pour dire yo pas ça faire si yo ça puis yo pas ni titre différent non qui manière ou ka garder un pays ko cette ici qui jania l'histoire côté ces colombe là te dit monde qui était esclavé pas te monde ko ça enkindling consciousness lever ka chill nous ka dit nous ko pays pour nous aller devant nous ni pour commencer pour croiser ces valeurs, ces kachil là qui kachel nous dewo, kachel nous derrière. So when we look at enkindling our consciousness, it is truly a movement that tries to encapsulate the need for us to continue to develop. Very often when we look at development, we look at it as this one-off. So independence is a one-day activity, emancipation is a one-day activity. But any developing nation understands that for progress to happen, there must be continual movement. And for a country like St. Lucia that has a particular historical experience like the one that enslavement has created for us, we know that enkindling consciousness means breaking down a lot of these hard-pressed ideas that kept us chained for centuries and allows us to look at ourselves differently, look at how we envision our society developing, the kinds of systems we have in place to allow our people to realize their fullest potential, whether that is in education, the arts, what we can beauty. Because colorism and racism, although we want to have little conversations about it, there are still very big things that impact how we work, how we move, and how we develop. So this theme is very fitting in the context that we are living in and in the world that is saying that we want to end discrimination, we want to end racism, and we want to create a society that is more just and equal.
Thank you, Raisa. But then you have juxtaposed to that, Minister, if you can, address that. Persons say, why go back to that trauma and pain and rehash that? We are a new society. All of us are one together. That is a hope of creating unity. But somewhere in the back of our minds, we are beyond that, and that should not be rehashed. We should not remember it. It is something of the past. Let's move on. What is your response to that?
Well, I think, you expect to hear that, and when you hear it, you should not necessarily shoot it down or condemn people for thinking that way. And why? Is because of that thinking that we need to overcome that will truly liberate us in moving forward. A confident people, a confident civilization is one which understands its origins, its tribulations, its struggle for survival, how they have overcome it and become a resilient people so they can face challenges in the future. Any civilization that is afraid to confront their origins is a weak civilization. Is a weak civilization. And if you look at the history of the relationship between state and society in our parts of the world, post-colonial societies, you really appreciate we've not really overcome that battle yet. I mean, look at the Jews, for example, what they've been through, history, resilience in their society, and I'm not passing judgment on good or bad, a statement of fact, how they've built resilience to be able to move forward. Look at the American society. There were American Indians living there before the Europeans came, and maybe even before Africans came, because there are accounts of history that said Africans did reach the American continent even before the Europeans. And if you just think of it logically, that have happened because of the challenges to the society that America is now. And you look at many, the Chinese civilization, the Indian civilization, they have been able to look at the past, to see their history, and some of them have glorious histories. And even in St. Lucia now, as we are doing research, we're finding out about our freedom fighters during the days of slavery, how they resisted slavery and what it represented, and the price they paid for it. And a lot of that has been buried, and our colonial history has not allowed us to understand and appreciate those things. We know we are resilient people in many ways, but understanding the depth of our struggles, our survival, allows us to boldly and confidently say, look, see what we're going through in COVID, we can overcome that. What we're going through in terms of the international political economy and how it's insensitive to small island states, we can overcome that, because we are people that have overcome throughout our history. And being able to take that, understand it, celebrate the achievements, tells you that you are people who are prepared to face all the challenges in the future. This is what starts to define us as a resilient people, when we are confident in looking at the past, understanding it, and moving forward.
Now, in respects to moving forward, this year, we have a series of activities, and I just want you to comment on them. So the first one, major one that's taking place, is on this Sunday in Denry at 4 p.m., the unveiling of the Emancipation hero, Petrony. With respects to that, how significant is that, iconizing a hero coming out of Emancipation? How significant is that? First we'll go to Raisa and then to the minister.
Comme ministre a te dit avant, a chaque détail nous a dit l'histoire nous a toujours dit nous te esclavé, mais ça qu'a fait à ce dimanche pour nous déclarer un champion émancipation pour montrer mon émancipation pas seulement moun qui mort, moun qui esclavé, mais moun qui te fait bataille contre tout ça qui était mauvais, tout ça qui était essayé de détruire. It is an opportunity to give our children a kind of imagery and knowledge of themselves that they never had before. And you have to ask yourself, does a school child, does the average St. Lucian know who Petrony is, and why not? And if it is we do not have that kind of rich history being passed on, we have done a disservice to our young people, because very often we talk about empowering the youth, giving them a strong identity and foundation of who they are. So what we are doing right now is not just a matter of having an event, but enriching your society so that your people are stronger, more conscious of who they are and where they're going to go.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very important activity, and I wish all St. Lucians will get to know about it. I hope the coverage we have of it is across all platforms, social media, traditional media, because we are saying to St. Lucians, and especially people in the valley, in the Denry Valley, that how many of you all ever knew of this tremendous black woman, not black man, black woman. We're talking about, the 1820s, 30s, whatnot, who stood up against the colonial powers, stood up against the oppression of slavery, stood up against the plantation owners, and took a stand in defense of her people and to fight for freedom. How many of you all knew that? You are living in the community, you're interacting in the community, and you don't know that many, many years ago, there was a powerful black woman that stood up and said, look, I'm going to fight against slavery. And I think the fact that we've been able to do a lot of the research, and we're going to bring it to the public and say, look, in our history, in our existence, this person existed, and that's what this person did. And it's even more magnificent because she's a woman. Well, of course, it's a woman. Because traditionally, in the very masculine societies that we had, the heroes, of course, the heroes are men, but the champions are always men. And the first one we're going to champion is actually a woman. And I think that's very symbolic, that's very powerful, and we want our people to know that and for them to appreciate that we have such achievements in our history.
Thank you, Minister. But I think what was striking for me, and I can give my story, when I came across Petrony, I first heard about her through a lecture at Salford, Dr. Philogents. And then I came across Dr. June Suma's paper, Stiff Back Women, which really described how women served in the process of resistance during that period. And from the time I saw the name Petrony, I felt compelled to tell the story, even to the point of really being particular about every single thing. I felt this woman was almost speaking to me that her story has to be told because it's significant. And I guess for those who don't know the story, she was really resistant, and I guess most people don't know the entire Fordo estate and most of Denry was owned by one planter, Hardy du Bocage, and he was described as one of the most terrible planters in the region, killed hundreds of people. And he indicated in court that he did not know what to do with her. She had experienced every sort of punishment. And by the time that last period when he put her in a pillory, I think by then she decided that she's going to die on her own terms. You are not going to enslave me. And what it sparked was a resistance in Denry, that's even to the point that they were sending troops from Castries to quell the resistance. And the case went to, I guess, imposition and court, and they declared that no woman should be put in a pillory as a form of punishment. So that is significant, and I guess the spirit of Petrony, if we look at the society today, do you see St. Lucian women embodying the spirit of Petrony? Minister,
well, yeah, you see, sorry.
That's fine.
I mean, for us, we must not necessarily see resistance in the same categories of what it has been. In her times, her resistance would have taken a particular form because of the historical materialist conditions of the time. That's what was required. In our modern times, resistance can take a different form. It can take a different shape, a different course of action. But what is important is people standing up for what they believe is right. And that is what is most important. And despite what she went through, I mean, when I read the notes, the profile on her, I mean, you couldn't help but feel a deep sense of admiration. Just close your eyes and visualize, what slavery might have been like and what she was doing and how it was happening, what she would have gone through. And those of us who studied history at school, it really just made you feel so proud that there was somebody who said to this planter, who was the most vicious planter according to historical accounts in St. Lucia, and had really accounted for the lives of many black people because he felt they were trying to run away, claims of theft and whatever else. I mean, he was brutal, and she made a very clear stand African, that she's resisting. And to the end, where she said, look, she rather die than to be a slave again. And that kind of spirit of resistance is what we want admirable. But it must not only be in one form. It can be in our desire to do better as a society. Let us overcome the international challenges we face. How can we become better students so we excel in our exams? And we have 2 Nobel Prize winners. That takes a certain spirit. That because you against the international system in a way. It's an international neo-capitalist system. We know how it is structured. We know what it is doing to small island states like ours. But we need to survive as a people. So how do we survive? How do we muster all our collective energy and capacity to say we will survive and be a prosperous nation in the modern context? So resistance is not always about, a fight, a physical fight, and it's about going against the challenges that you face and rising and succeeding above that.
Ça pas perçu pour moi, c'est une femme qui fort. Nous savons ça, c'est femme là qui a porté chez bon. Femme là qui a travaillé affaires agriculture. Nous garder système d'éducation nous, affaires développement politique cette ici. Nous avons femmes à divers côtés qui já fait un chai pour faire assurer cette ici à développer. Et puis là nous garder l'histoire Petrony. Et c'est un autre occasion pour nous réfléchir à ce qui nous vraiment est. Actuellement, ça là, chaque monde qui a parlé à ce l'année femme, mais là c'est toujours une femme qui a fait bon travail, mais nous pas point encore société pour bailler à yote besoin. Et puis ça là c'est un qui est important pour nous faire ça. Et pas seulement ça famille nous, là nous garder actuellement ça très difficile économique ça là, c'est femme qui a porté famille. Pour faire assurer que maman ni nom yo ni maman yo avec papa yo ka fait bien société nous ça nous pour garder actuellement ça là c'est pas seulement manière nous ka l'on pour Petrony mais qui manière société nous ka bail femme valeur là nous garder qualité violence nous ka ouais société nous hard femme en famille à divers travail là nous garder par exemple mademoiselle qui était à chanter calypso ça y fait nous n'y pour garder qui manière nous qu'à traiter femme en société nous et qui ça dit à ce qu'on nous c'est valeur et qui manière nous ça changer puis à chaque dit tout monde qui garder émancipation accordé il pas rien pour faire puis qui monde nous actuellement ça là et c'est différents bagages nous même qu'à essayer faire la vie nous mais émancipation c'est pour la vie vivante et il a affecté toute part de la vie nous. Ça fait terre, ça fait manière nous lever maman nous, la vie spirituelle nous, système d'éducation nous et puis l'année ça là nous ton gouvernement cette ici dit yo kay déclarer l'histoire cette ici de l'école. Nous a passé 43 années d'indépendance, nous pas ni l'histoire cette ici de l'école. Ça c'est émancipation. Tout ça, c'est pas du mouvement ça là.
Okay. Now, Minister, something has really made me curious. I'm going to ask some of the hard questions.
Yeah.
Why the format for celebration through the medium of where it looks like festivals and events? And it's really centered around the arts. Is that deliberate?
It is deliberate. I will tell you that there are individuals, myself, I love sitting down and listening to a good lecture. I like, engaging with intellectuals and academics and reflecting on our society, whatnot. But the truth is, most people don't go to public lectures. The truth is most people don't really have the aptitude to sit down in a classroom setting and to, taking 2-3 hours of a presentation. People learn differently. You can educate people in different forms. You can sensitize people in different forms. And truth be told, the most effective way of sensitizing our people is through popular culture, music, dance, It is, whether we like it or not. Of course, modern technology is now introducing the social media platforms that are probably even more powerful using those art forms. So we thought, look, yes, we need to have the formal educating and the lectures and the discussions, but we also need to use the popular art forms to sensitize our people, to enkindle their consciousness, and especially the younger generation that are heavily digital. So we are very deliberate in going out and using the digital platforms to be able to educate our younger people and the broader society. And that's just a statement of the modern times we live in. We've kept in some of the traditional activities, and I must applaud CDF because and the other partners, because when we were first speaking of the programs, they had people who called me and said to me, Minister, don't approve this. We need to be educating, sensitizing. And I said to the team, those were the sentiments. And the team really went out and to get different discussions in communities. I would love some of the same critics to tell me how many of them attended any of the outreach activities. It's the nature of our society, yeah? So you've had so many outreach activities and they continue, and it's in the build-up to the big celebrations, and I think that was excellent, and we should continue to do it as a format. So before the big day, we start having our outreach in the traditional forms that some of the purists want, but we never forget what is the most effective for the times in which we live in. And I must tell you, when I hear sometimes people speak about, everything for y'all is a fete. Again, we let in this colonial definition of who we are really suffocate us. We are people who dance. We are people who love music. Why should we be ashamed to dance and to sing? That's who we are. And I think Oshun said it to them, is the African in her. Why should we be ashamed to celebrate through song and dance? Why should we be afraid to educate the younger generation through song and dance? Why should we be? One is not talking about vulgarity. People seem to want to equate. Once you're dancing, you're vulgar. Once you're singing, you slack. Of course there are people who are slack in their songs. Of course there are people who are vulgar in how they dance. But that does not define who we are. And therefore, I want to encourage, but it also gives an opportunity for our creative people who are involved in song, in music, in dance, and the whole creative expression, a chance to be involved too. And we're speaking about about establishing a creative economy. That's part of it. So I listen. We make improvements based on the criticisms that we get. We try to be better than what we were by listening to the public. But I'm really excited by the balance that was achieved. And there were quite a few individuals who met on Facebook, in the media, they had no Jouvet for Carnival. We need to have Jouvet. They must have Jouvet. Well, they'll have Jouvet on Monday, so I hope they come. All those that were calling for Jouvet, they have Jouvet on Monday. And Jouvet for Emancipation is more important than Jouvet for Carnival. So let me see if they'll come out on Monday morning for Jouvet.
I will answer on the topic. So it's really a celebration of a parade that starts at the VG roundabout, and it continues.
VG roundabout?
Yes.
The top by the airport?
Yes, the top by the airport.
So I was thinking VG, the playing field. Yeah.
Dio Datla.
No.
So we're starting from
the 1st of August.
The Leclerc roundabout.
The Leclerc roundabout.
And we're coming down the stretch.
We will gather at 4 a.m.
We're starting to gather at 4. Okay.
And we will start the proceedings from 5 a.m. in the morning. In terms of the components, we have several drumming groups from around the island. So it's really powered by traditional drums. Groups like More Fire from Denry.
Something good.
La Pokabuita, Bumele, and the Vibute drummers. So we have that component, dancers, still walkers, and of course we're inviting the general public to come out in your African wear and be part of the parade. This whole celebration is about people, and of course it's about including everyone. It really embodies putting people first, and so that is what we want to do. And when we get to the waterfront, we will continue our ceremony where we will play homage to those that that we lost. And at that ceremony, there's something special that's going to happen, but I'll let the minister tell you about. It's about the calling of a few names.
Yes, yes.
Minister, if you can just talk briefly on that.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about Monday morning. Like I said, it's the first time we'll be trying it out, so we really want people to come out and to be part of it. It's a real Juve, not a bacchanal Juve, but a conscious Juve. It's a Juve with a difference, where people can actually come, and as the sun is starting to rise, we can start paying homage to all those who went before us, those that were lost during, the rounding up of the Africans, the trip across from Africa to the Caribbean, and those who were lost on the plantations, to really pay homage to them, but also to celebrate the freedom fighters, the Petrony and the many others, and the fact that we achieve emancipation. So as we parade to the waterfront, it's really celebrating that, we got our freedom, we were emancipated. And to have the song and dance on the waterfront, and the arrival of the ships, there will be a number of boats coming in, again reenacting that we came here by boat. We didn't come by plane or by space, we came here by boats, and the reenactment. But what I like about the concept the team came up with is that there'll be regalia, people actually not broken and in chains, but triumphantly. We came in by boats, by ships, but we are triumphant now. And I'm looking forward to the song and dance, and I'm still hoping we can probably have an enactment of a slave auction, because people hear about slaves being...
That's controversial.
It is?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, we will be able to at least recognize the names of persons that were slaves. We'll actually call out about 90 names of slaves, whatnot. Now, I mean, sometimes we have different little reactions to history and what should be, what should not be. I have my own views on it, but decision. But what is most important is that we will remind people of our history, what we went through, and we'll celebrate the fact that we are emancipated.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, in terms of the auction, the version of it, there are two schools of thought that we should not re-traumatize individuals, and we should respect our ancestors by not recreating that. But you did make a point about...
I must say I don't necessarily agree with this, that we should ban all movies with World War II. We should ban all
Holocaust films.
All Holocaust films. We should, and sometimes we don't even have to be literal. Through dance, you can symbolize what we went through. The fact that we were dehumanized by an auction is a very powerful part of our history. But I mean, it is something you can always debate for next year and the future. And like I said, there are different versions of it. I'm a confident person, and I don't think telling me what my forefathers went through will might bring me to tears, but it will strengthen my resolve for my people never to go through that again. And maybe it's a different mindset to history. We are the survivors, and therefore we have to be able to be more resilient than the past. But I respect some people might not want to be reminded of the trauma. But Monday morning will be a very special morning, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. And I want to encourage all St. Lucians who can to come out. If you're not going to do the parade, your vehicle can follow us. Let's create a vibe Monday morning. Let's create a recognition of the past and a celebration of what we've achieved as a people.
Yes, sir.
Matika di apawala ubay, il importa pour di moun pouchi danser et puis tambou important cette nisi. Puis ça chay moun pas savent. La tenir entre l'histoire nos côtés. Ça fait battre tabou te contre la loi. So la tenir chay bagay yo te ka fait pour tuer nous a kilti. Amane nou ka parler kosa comment ka parler créole actuellement ça là chay kolom de kay di ou pas parler créole kosa ça kay fait à soleil d'hiver pour nous ko pays ko peuple pour célébrer résistance de manière qui différente. C'est pas seulement résistance et puis un couteau, résistance moun la ou identité à nous ni ko ethnicien. Et puis c'est différents gangs là qui kay là. Moi quoi ça c'est bon l'histoire yo kay jouer pour nous. Là yo ka battre tabou, là yo ka danser. Manière nous kay venir ensemble kon pep pour célébrer qui moun nou ye, moi crois ça bien important et que moi voulais tout jeune cette ici sortir dehors. Vinn bay support. Aussi ou pas ça sortir dehors, nous kay ni sur télévision, vous savez, sur Facebook, sur différentes pages social media pour place recherche folklore, fondation développement culture. Ça c'est un temps pour nous-mêmes et puis un temps pour montrer riche nous héritage. Et héritage pas héritage nous pas ni pour séwer mais nous pour bailler pour tous ces monde là qui dit moi pas kay mort, moi kay continuer vivre pour faire la vie ou et puis nous la piste. Pas ces monde qui étaient esclaves mais c'est africain dit nous pas kay mort. C'est pour ça nous ici à Jordia, yo pas té mort. Yo te dit nous voulons ni la vie libre, à la vie qui est libre. Et nous ne pouvons pas continuer course là, yo commencer ban nous.
So that is in the morning, but in the evening, to address most persons say to buy say a cast tweet 2 cents. What is the response to that in the evening? We have a special activity in Soufre, and Minister, I don't know if you want to respond in terms of how the Emancipation celebration is sort of spread out and why we go into several communities.
Yeah, I think the notion that everything is cash is itself a reflection of our colonial reality, and most things are usually centered around the city center. We are deliberate in trying to break down that construct, and the fact that actual history is not about Castries alone, it's about all the communities. And the team made a very special effort to spread it throughout the country. So we have activities at Mount Jimmy, we have in Labri, we have in Soufre, and on Monday we have the celebration on some Monday morning to start off Emancipation Day, but we end the afternoon with a freedom concert in Soufre where we actually meet in song and dance to celebrate the fact that we were freed as slaves, and that is really important. So we have Denry the Sunday afternoon, Castries the Monday morning, Soufre the Monday afternoon. Throughout the month we'll be having trips in Mount Jimmy, Labri will be having theirs, and other communities will be doing their own little community commemoration. And of course we end the month, and I guess we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to Monday afternoon as well for me to go down to Soufre to spend some time with the musicians, the dancers, and the people of Soufre and all of St. Lucia that can come to Soufre for us to be able to celebrate. Soufre itself is so rich in history, but I mean, for this year we have the program starting off in Castries, and we have other years we'll be celebrating. So it's going to be a real exciting August the 1st. I suspect I might be a little too tired to go to work on the Tuesday, so I have to ask the Prime Minister for another holiday.
In terms of Soufre, we worked with the Soufre Foundation and the council. So it's really the community where they've taken over the entire sort of project where we're collaborating with them. And I must say that there are also other agencies involved in this collaboration. Minister gave us a task to bring everybody together. Sometimes, after this, it's been rough. Umbutu, Archaeological Society, ICA, SLTA, SLHTA, Export St. Lucia, the Denry North and South Council, Soufre Foundation, the Soufre Council, the Ministry of Creative Industry, and of course the Anglican Church.
Yes.
Yeah. And persons say, we're having an exhibition, Caribbean Ties exhibition, and Safa Lewis Community College's exhibition on slavery inside the Anglican Church in Beaufort. Now some people would say, what? The Anglican Church exhibition on slavery? What is your take on that, right, Minister?
Il importe toute organisation, especially l'Église, tenir un rôle de esclavage à cette ici. Et puis dès là, nous avons l'occasion pour nous changer le rôle là nous jouer à la vie technicienne. Et puis travail là yo kay faire sous dimanche là kay bay je cette ici en chance pour connaître l'histoire yo pour yo réfléchir et pour yo travailler ensemble pour qui manière nous ça fait assurer que l'histoire nous c'est l'histoire de la paix côté si nous vraiment dit nous c'est riche bodje qui manière nous ka touter riche bodje mania problème et puis ça les nous garder au lion la terre nous l'église ni un rôle pour faire développement délai rôle là qu'a détruit délai il qu'a construit un canon il qu'a construit et moi d'accord et puis ça
well just to sum up and to wrap up because I believe our time has passed any last words minister in terms of encouraging persons to come out Raisa and of course FRC's role in this entire process. So Minister, last words.
Yeah, well, I certainly want to encourage all St. Lucians to participate in the activities to commemorate Emancipation. It does not just start on August the 1st, well, on Sunday in Dennery, but it ends with flowers, you know, in the ending of August, and it's going to be a magnificent presentation this year. I think everyone is making a special effort to you know, host flowers in a way which we've never really done before. And I want to tell St. John's to come out to support and to participate. We've never really commemorated Emancipation like we're trying to do this year. Emancipation is a singular important activity in our own mental understanding or the mental construct of who we are as a people. It is our history. It tells us what we've been through as a people, as a civilization. Civilizations are great. They can face the future with confidence when they are strong on knowing who they are. As long as we don't get to know who we are, we can never have the strength to overcome the challenges we confront in today's world and in the future to come. We need to be bold and confident. We know where we came from. We know what we have overcome. We know how resilient we are making ourselves through all the learning and the empowerment that are taking place, and we will be successful in the future because of that. Those that want to make you believe you can become a great country,
vle di je set nisi, an nou veni ensemble pour nous lever kachil nou. FRC c'est une organisation Emancipation qui pour à peu près 50 l'année qu'a poussé l'idée d'Emancipation qu'il ti. C'est pour ça nous qu'a célébrer mon héritage créole tous les années. Ça c'est pas d'Emancipation qu'a servi qu'il ti pour éduquer, pour avancer, pour élever peuple nous. Et puis nous qu'a une discussion à où à ce qui mène nous serviteur après émancipation et puis nous voulons dire je sais ici pour continuer travailler avec le peuple IBE ponte la force nous c'est peuple nous comme ça émancipation c'est un mouvement qui a encouragé nous comme pays pour aller devant à nous faire ensemble.
Thank you. And just to sum up, on the 31st of July we will be unveiling the Emancipation here in Dennery, and we're asking persons to come out, persons in Dennery North and South, and we're asking persons to just come down to Dennery at 4 p.m. to be part of the unveiling of Petrony, our Emancipation hero. And of course, there's a concert on the beach and a bonfire done by the Rastafarian Association. And we're just inviting persons to come out and be part of the celebration. On Monday, come be part of the drums and dance ritual and really pay homage to those that we lost, be part of the parade, come in your African wear, and of course be part of the Freedom Concert in Soufre at Old Trafford Complex, and it starts at 5 p.m. and we're inviting you to come down with a full weekend of activities. And of course there are other activities which will be happening virtually, panel discussion by the Food Research Center on the dispensation of land after emancipation, a youth podcast done by the National Youth Council where we will get their views on emancipation, how they feel about it, and is it relevant to them. So that is also coming up, and a symposium at the National Cultural Center done by the Ubuntu Center, National Cultural Center, sorry, and a range of activities, and of course, Vive la Waltz on the 30th of August, and we'll be celebrating our Flower Festival, which is over 100 years old. That means that we are definitely celebrating a hallmark this year with Emancipation 2022. So, with that, we will see you on August 31st and the 1st. Thank you.